So it has been a couple of days since I put out a YouTube video on this channel. I do apologize. I do have some more music coming out on PGN Music. The link's up there in the corner. That's not today's video. Today's video, we're going to talk about Kakao Games. We're going to talk about Archeage and how they have made the difficult decision after careful consideration and evaluation of various factors that they are going to announce the official shutdown of Archeage EU NA effective June 27th of this year. Well, nobody's really surprised. I'm not surprised. I think they're down to one server. I think they merged Legacy and Unchained after they said under Gamigo Games they would never do that. So right now we're going to talk about why Archeage failed. And if you don't care about Archeage, down here on this bar somewhere, there's going to be a talking point about games in general and why they fail. So why did Archeage fail? Well, first and foremost, it failed right almost out of the box because of Trion Worlds. Trion Worlds under Scott Hartzman had a very aggressive pay-to-win campaign. Over monetization, very aggressive. And the problem is that I can't blame Trion Worlds for all of that, because a lot of the problems with Archeage is the pay to win. And when we talk about pay to win, we talk about pay to win involves creating the problem to sell the solution. And this is what Kakao Games had done in the game coding. They created certain problems like regrades, which need regrade charms, so they could sell them. It also had to do with mismanagement. Trion Worlds was completely inept at, number one, properly managing their servers, getting server queues right all the way back at launch. We have it in place so that we're going to be able to spin up servers as needed. Okay, then why, if you had 4 days of early access, didn't you know how many people were trying to play? Why did you have queues of 13,000 people? You know, there's just mismanagement over and over and over again. And then, of course, greed. For those of you that aren't familiar with what was going on with Trion Worlds at the time, Trion Worlds had acquired all of Gazillion's assets because, this is their slide, Trion had this idea that they were going to be the next Steam, but they were going to be Steam but better. So Trion overextended on Gazillion's assets, weren't able to properly execute, weren't able to make money. They needed more money. Rift and Archeage were really their only two products. Trove hadn't grown at the time, so they were looking for money. Then it goes over to Gamigo Games. Archeage gets sent to Gamigo to distribute as an acquisition of assets. And unfortunately for Gamigo Games, they hired Crolin, who is the other half of this problem. Gamigo Games had pay to win. They had pay to win issues. They tried to launch Archeage Unchained, which wasn't going to have pay to win. They said if you buy Archeage Unchained, you're never going to have to buy the expansions. You're never going to have to buy the DLC. Lo and behold, 9 months later, they'd broken that agreement. Crolin told us all these things about how Unchained was a new product in partnership with Gamigo Games, with Kakao Games. That was all false. They didn't understand what the bugs were. They didn't understand things that were missing. Crolin did a live stream just before the launch of Unchained, lied to the consumer base, dismissed consumer concerns, and then basically he ended up now over at Amazon Game Studios. He's got some fancy job title. The really big problem is I think Throne and Liberty is going to flop. If Crolin's involved in it and Crolin is speaking, he's probably lying to you. His track record says that. And then we get Kakao Games. They get the Archeage product back, and their greed and lack of foresight has, I don't know what it's done to a couple of things. If you didn't see this video, Kakao Games almost immediately after getting the Archeage product back stole the players' credits, forced them to take deals in rebates and equivalent exchanges that weren't equivalent. That video talks about all of it. And now we've got Kakao Games, and what is shuttering Archeage 1? What is all the things they've done with the Archeage 1 players done? And what's its impact on Archeage 2? If you weren't aware, Archeage 2 has delayed until 2026. Videos up there. Not talking about Archeage 2 today, but it does make me wonder, does Kakao really believe people are going to trust them now with the shuttering of Archeage? Because really, what's it costing you to support, what, 2 servers? Final Fantasy 11 is 20 some odd years old, and they're still supporting a handful of servers. Don't make it about money. With that said, a lot of this comes from the Sustainability of live service games. If you haven't seen this slide going around the internet, this is 70% of developers have concerns about the sustainability of current live service business models. And okay, I don't understand why. Let's do some math. The value of 1 million customers, 1 million box sales customers, or 1 million subscription customers. At $30 a pop, if you have 1 million sales, you'll make $30 million. At $50 a sale, you'll make $50 million. But at a $15 a month monthly sub, right? The first month you've made 15 million, second 30 million, 45, 60, and so on. Now, before anybody jumps in and says, but Jay, populations decline, you're right. You're absolutely right. Populations decline. And let's talk about population decline at a 50% fall off. You have 1 million players the first month. You have 500K the second month, 250K the third month, 125 the fourth month. And at that point, we're going to say the game is a failure. We've dipped down below what a sustainable population is. So we've only made 28 million. So when you put this together in front of the wrong people at game companies, what they're going to say is, this is the smart solution. Let's not worry about live service support. Let's worry about box price. And then this is going to lead us into, let's worry about cash shops, cosmetics, optional things. But nobody ever wants to talk about the elephant in the room. Why? Why are you losing 50% of your players month after month after month? Why are you worried about getting all of your money out of the players on day one in a box price, and then you're not worrying about retention? In fact, if you have a box price with no subscription, they don't want retention because you cost them money connecting to their servers. Is it because companies are just making shit games? Yes, company. If you're only going to sell 1 million copies of your game, why are you developing a game with only 1 million sales as a target goal, as for 1 million initial players? New World, I believe, had 973,000 concurrent players in its first month. That's not a lot of players. Not if you're honestly trying to say you sold 4 million copies of the game or 16 million copies of the game. Where did the players go? Or is it because companies are greedy? I think this might be a little bit more accurate. Companies want money now. They don't want money over the next 20 years. Or is it developers are simply out of touch with reality? And I think this is getting closer to the truth. Gamers want good games. Mike Ybarra, former president of Blizzard, made a statement that he thinks tipping game creators $10 or $20 on top of a $70 price is a great idea. Some games are that special. When I beat a game, there are always some that leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was. At the end of the game, I've often thought, I wish I could give these folks another $10 or $20 because it was worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring. Well, here's a thought. If you want to give the game company another $10 or $20, why don't you buy one of their other titles that's on discount at $10 or $20? Why don't you buy another copy of the game? Give it to somebody. We don't need to do tipping culture, because how much of that money is actually going to get to the developers anyway? And then this worries me because you're the former president of Blizzard. Why not just pay the developers more and have the company take less? My belief is if you pay $30 for a game, you should get 30 hours out of that game. It should be about $1 an hour for entertainment. If you pay $70 for the game, you should get about 70 hours out of the game, and that's a good value for the entertainment. Now, I'd like to talk about a game real quick. Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, the DLC. I absolutely got my money's worth out of Cyberpunk because not only did I do 2 run-throughs when the game first came out, when they released the Phantom Liberty expansion, I did a complete additional run-through. I saw that Phantom Liberty at one point sold 5 million copies. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Is CD Projekt Red making a huge mistake not doing another DLC to a product that is hot, that people want? They want another DLC for. They want V to have his happy ending. Yes, I think they're making a terrible mistake. But you see companies that are saying, you know what? We've made a game. We've told the story we wanted to tell. We don't need to do another DLC just for the money. Baldur's Gate 3, absolutely phenomenal game. Hit game, probably the new gold standard for single player game experiences. They're done with Baldur's Gate 3. There's no more. There's no more coming. They're moving on to other projects. Again, I think a horrible experience, a horrible idea. I think the game was great. It has replayability value. I would love to have seen more DLC for it. I would have loved to have seen a Baldur's Gate 4, seen something else. It's not coming. These are companies that are making good games. They're not trying to nickel and dime us. I think if game studios, 70% of them are worried about live service, I think they're worried about making good quality games because they're afraid they're going to have 50% fall off every month for the first 4 months. Looking at you, New World. You invested millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into your game, but you can't keep a player base of more than 10,000 concurrent players. It's not our fault. It's not the player's fault. You made a shitty game. So instead of trying to get all your money out of us in a box price for a shitty game, Dragon's Dogma 2, looking at you, Capcom, that game is terrible, but they already got everybody $70, $60, whatever it was. They got everybody's money. It doesn't have to be a good game. They already have your money. If game developers are worried about the sub model, it's because they're worried about making good games. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree. Leave your comments below. I'll see you next time.